Looking back at her social circles that I saw and the men who she dated and married, certainly, I think there was an affinity towards white privilege, if you want to call it that. So, in my opinion, playing the race card seems opportunistic on the grounds that it was never a focal part of her identity, never on the TIG that I saw, never in her social circles.
Are you serious?
She never belonged to a Black sorority in school. The schools that she went to were very eclectic and diverse. And that was great. But that being said, if you look at who she married and surrounded herself with,
Okay.
I don't feel that she has license to play the race card.
So,
Yeah,
Peter,
okay.
can you just explain where your case is at now?
Okay. Well, in the
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
trial court, we had a district court judge that decided on the motion to dismiss that was raised by Meghan Markle. And the motion to dismiss basically was saying, well,
What the hell?
if you look at this comment and you look at this comment and you look at this comment, they all either mean nothing or their opinion or whatever. And so the judge basically agreed with them and threw the case out. When then we filed the notice of appeal. And at this point, our brief has been filed and Meghan Markle's brief has been filed. And now we just have to file our reply brief, and then the case will be getting ready for oral argument and a decision. But I would want to point out, what am I talking about in terms of these different things that were said? So it would be all right if I explain that to you now.
Please.
Okay. So just to give a for instance, okay. I remember, by the way, Shapiro in the OJ trial, but those glasses and said, I can't read with them again. Okay, so if we just kind of take a look, okay. So it said, one of the things she said is, you don't know me, betrayal comes from somebody that you have a relationship with. So really, how is that? Well, by itself, how is that defamation? It's not. All by itself, it just is a statement. It doesn't say, it doesn't say Samantha Markle is dishonest, Samantha Markle is an opportunist, Samantha Markle is this or that. It's basically just saying these words, you don't know me, betrayal comes from somebody you have a relationship with. Or the next one, I grew up as an only child and I wish I had siblings. Or where she then said that she was, it's been at least 18, 19 years ago since she saw Samantha, which wasn't true. And 10 years before that, which wasn't true. And then also,
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Samantha changed her name back to Markle when Meghan started dating Prince Harry. That's the way that Meghan Markle. But Meghan Markle,
Stop it.
putting it that way, was not being honest, because the actual quote was, Samantha changed her surname back to Markle only.
Wait for it.
When Markle started dating Prince Harry. So when I started dating Prince Harry is what she said. So, the fact is, if you take them all by themselves, they're really meaningless. But when you put them all together, which
Okay.
they're said together, and you put them all together, it's basically making Samantha Markle look like she's some kind of a stranger to her, who is now trying to cash in on this whole thing, because Samantha wrote a book.
Here it comes.
And the book wasn't really about her sister, but the title kind of used the word, pushy sister. And so without ever reading the book,
That doesn't make sense.
Meghan Markle decided, I'm going to destroy that book. Nobody's going to read it because I'm going to destroy Samantha's reputation in the media. But when you're talking about somebody that is at that time dating Prince Harry,
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
and so on, you're talking about someone who A normal person would say something like that, even if they could get it in the newspaper. Maybe it's a little bit of a negative thing to somebody. But when you have millions of people that are reading these things or hearing these things from Meghan Markle, it becomes so much worse. And it did become so much worse in the Netflix series that she did, because there she had this.
Wait for it.
Christopher Boozy.
Boozy, yes.
Yes. Which is, I don't really want to tell you what I think about Christopher Boozy.
Stop it.
Let's just say it's.
Would have to be censored. I feel exactly the same, Peter, believe me.
I have nothing good to say about that person, but he had terrible things to say. I mean, the things that he said.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
He basically called, I've seen this actually, these very comments looked at by another commentator recently who was saying,
wait for it.
This is actually showing racism against white women. And when you think about it, it really is. Christopher Boozy's is
almost there.
A black individual. I don't think it matters. What he did is just despicable, no matter what kind of color he is. But the fact of the matter is that these things that he said, where he basically is saying things like, oh God, this is not your everyday trolling.
Fact.
It's insane, and it was done by people who are not the typical unique trolls. These are housewives. These are middle-aged Caucasian women. Okay, so there's no question he's pointing out that
doesn't make sense.
Group. And then he basically says Samantha Markle was part of the group that was putting out this information. Well, in other words, okay, if you have a group, like if you have a group of people that put up Confederate flags, some of them may be racist, some of them may not be racist. And there's case law that basically says you can't include everybody in a group. But if the group is defined,
okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
As everybody that puts up Confederate flags, the one thing is they all are putting up Confederate flags, as that's the defining factor that puts them in the group. So here he's saying that Samantha Markle,
wait for it,
put out this information because she belongs to a group of people who put out this information. That means that she herself puts out this information. So she's accusing her of being a liar, being dishonest, because the one thing we know about this information is it's not true. Okay.
And just before you go on, Sam, do you feel like Meghan and her Sussex squad trolls,
wait for it,
like Christopher Boozy, were using anti-white racism against you?
Very good question.
Well, I do. Any suggestion that I could or would ever be part of a hate group, and that was the overtone and implication. It was pretty clear. I believe that was the motive.
Okay.
It will incite a lot of violence. So certainly it's baseless. I mean, like Peter said, if I was online, defending my dad and saying that's not true, that doesn't make me part of the rest of the population, millions of people around the world who are having their own opinions and who are
that doesn't make sense.
saying things because of controversial headlines, because they were forming an opinion based on observable actions. But that doesn't make me part of their group. I'm a family member.
Fact.
And we had our own opinions, valid, unique, separate from the opinions of the public. And if based on observable actions, sometimes those opinions intersected. As a family member, I certainly felt like,
okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
it was my right under the Constitution to express that and express what I disagreed with. That doesn't make me a basher. It doesn't make me the leader of a hate group.
No, of course,
because it had nothing to do with race. So
fact.
He's applying labels that are wholly inaccurate, and I think that's actionable.
And just to clarify, Sam, growing up, Meghan identified as Caucasian, didn't she? Or at least on her acting form, she was identifying as Caucasian.
Correct. And reportedly on her driver's license. And, you know, I would say looking back at her social circles that I saw and the men who she dated and married, certainly, you know, I think there was an affinity towards white privilege, if you want to call it that. So, you know, in my opinion, playing the race card.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Seems opportunistic on the grounds that it was never a focal part of her identity, never on the TIG that I saw, never in her social circles. She never belonged to a Black sorority in school.